Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's the Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
And we're ready and excited for another fun episode. Today we have Kevwe Akpore with us. Kevwe, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad you guys got a chance to get me here. And I know Victor's been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
But schedules and everything, so it's working out really well. So
For sure. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, you guys work together between soccer, right?
Yep.
Yes, we've been together for a few years now.
Yeah.
Several years.
That's
We
awesome.
work together at Sandberg and now at Knox. We're together again.
Is soccer how you guys met?
Yes,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Soccer is how we met, and we actually met at Sambo College,
Okay,
and we've been hanging out since.
that's cool.
Yep.
Been hanging out since.
Well, Kevwe, tell us about yourself. Who is Kevwe?
Oh my! Talk about me.
You're good.
Yeah.
Talk about me. Oh man, where do I start from? That's a long story. I live in Galesburg. I've lived in Galesburg since '87.
Okay.
So that's about 36 years now.
Yeah.
Moved there in '87, originally from Nigeria,
Okay.
and moved to Galesburg, and I've lived there ever since. Raised my kids there, went to school there, worked there.
And that was Nigeria straight to Galesburg?
Nigeria straight to Galesburg.
How did that happen?
Yeah, why Galesburg? What happened?
Galesburg. Well, my uncle was there first. He came on a track scholarship to WRU, 72. Then my older brother came in 83. Then I left in my senior year of college in Nigeria. I came in 87 and started school from scratch again. Sambo College. And did that for a while and transferred to Western Illinois University. And finished there. I was in school for a very long time. I always had a job. And all through most of my career, I was in school. I was still in school till maybe 2 years ago. I've had multiple master's degrees. As a matter of fact, one I see as funny because I was coaching at Sambo College, and I had my players doing study halls on Tuesdays and Fridays, and that was a good opportunity for me to go back to school. So I did a lot of stuff online, and so they were graduating, I was graduating too. So I told them, I was like, I'm graduating too, and they go, how? It's like, well, you always see me in study hall, just doing stuff. He goes, they go, coach is always there before we do, and he's the last one to leave, and yeah. But yeah, the last degree was through study hall.
How many masters you have?
Man, multiple graduate programs. First was in manufacturing engineering. Did work in law enforcement and justice administration. Did something in police executive management. Did something in public safety. My career most has been in public safety. Full-time work has been in public safety. And that's not including the military, because I'm also retired from the Army.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, a veteran, thank you for your service, too.
You're welcome. Thanks. It was a privilege and an honor to do it.
What year were you in the Army?
Oh, man. I did close to 20 years. I went in 88, 89. No. Yes.
Hey, you've done a lot. You got a lot on your plate.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. But it's been
So about 89 to 2009?
somewhere around there. And,
Yeah.
My last, lots of tours, of course. Last was Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. It's gone for about a year before coming back home. And it's quite an experience, of course, you know, good, the bad, and the ugly. Turns you into a different person, humbles you, breaks you as well.
Yeah.
You know, but you just have to keep going. Yeah.
Right.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
Total different story.
What was that experience? Now, when it got to Operation Freedom, you had already been in another war, right? In your 20 years?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
in the 90s, we did.
It would have been Iraq, right? Or
Yes,
Kuwait?
Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
Yeah.
I was there too.
Yeah.
How was that one?
Their wars are different. Without going into the intricacies of it, they're just different. Different types of wars. Desert Shield, Desert Storm was a little bit different. You're thinking about Kuwait and Saddam going into Kuwait, and the need to push him out of Kuwait. So it's a little bit different. It was easy. I won't say easy easy militarily as a whole, without prolonging it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that went quickly, which was kind of good. Of course, I was there for at least 6 months. But in terms of expeditiousness of the mission compared to, let's say, Afghanistan or second Iraq, Desert Shield, Desert Storm went quickly. Yeah, it was very expeditious. I think the force was just too overwhelming. Yeah.
When on Operation Freedom, how long were you there?
At least 1 year.
Yeah, I think my brother was about 13 months. He was in the
Yes,
Army as well.
At least 1 year, yeah.
Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Oh man, that's 101st Airborne.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Me too.
Oh, you were?
Yes, I worked
Okay.
for 101st Airborne. I was attached to them as worked in logistics. Pretty much was involved in everything major logistically through the whole year. I was in charge of the command center for not 101st, 106th Transportation Battalion was under 101st Airborne.
Gotcha.
And they were tasked with pretty much everything logistics.
How important is logistics?
Oh, that's one of the biggest pieces.
Yeah, right.
Without that piece, nothing happens. I don't care. Everything that comes in has to go somewhere. Whether they come in by air, whether they come in by sea. I think the front line of the war, specifically Iraqi freedom, was moving those things to the front line. Whether they came in by air, they came in by sea, somehow they had to get to the end user. So going back to your questions, I think logistics is what makes it work.
Yeah. Logistics in itself is probably one of the most underestimated, underappreciated fields. I mean, you even think of just getting this water here, this equipment here, every single thing we have. Logistics played its role.
There's absolutely no way you will survive without it.
Right.
I mean, we don't even. I think people have more appreciation now after the experiences we had with COVID.
True.
And the fact that everything came to a halt.
Yeah.
In the beginning, where we were all trying to see how things and supplies were going to move. And without those supplies, we actually had to make those who do those moves, we learned how to appreciate them even more.
Yeah.
You know, there's a word for it I can't remember now. They used it during COVID a lot, where, you know, an employee they used it in reference to the nurses a lot.
Necessary. Now I'm
Not
drawing a
necessary.
blank
You
too
know,
now.
you know what I'm trying to say.
Oh, what is the word? It'll come to us.
You know,
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what I'm trying to say.
I do. Nurses, ambulance, firemen.
Yes, all of them.
I can't even believe
and the truck drivers were
all
lumped in
driving
there.
the plane.
Everybody, yeah. Mm-hmm. But that brought some appreciation to logistics and how it works in transportation.
Yeah. Some people have no idea how complex supply chain can be.
Absolutely. And we found out during COVID. Yeah.
I have a bachelor in supply chain from WYU, and I did an internship in a big company, the supply chain for large companies. And man, it's complex from raw material until it gets to the end consumer. It's a lot of layers
everywhere. Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing. I mean, when you look at logistics and how well it goes now, you have to begin to appreciate the United States Army. There's a lot of things that we do worldwide stems from the military. Even when you look at logistics and how it evolved, tracking supplies. I remember, let's go back to Desert Shield for a little bit and see. Back then, it was a huge testing opportunity for GPS that we now rely on today, that I actually used to get here. I've been here before, but I needed GPS. But Desert Storm was a huge piece in terms of seeing where that was going. I don't know if you know it, but when you go back and start doing your reviews, you begin to see that. Then, years later, going to Iraqi freedom, enduring freedom, referencing logistics again, and tracking supplies was RFID, radio frequency identifiers, for tracking stuff. So the world copies that, and it makes the world move quicker, faster. Everything that we do, and I think there's a lot to be said about what goes on and how the world evolves from the United States military. It's planning. Of course, the monies are there for the research and resources and things like that too. Yeah. Most of these things come to our households now.
Right.
I'm very sure the very nice watch you have, has GPS in it.
Yeah. Something. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Now a lot of the military really is kind of the forefront, right, of finding out and discovering and getting stuff like this that eventually ends up in the consumer hand.
They do. I mean, even on the medical side.
True.
In terms of treatment and tests and things like that, you're talking about the battlefield and different things that are happening and injuries and treatments and just so much that evolves from there, and they're tested and wounds, treating wounds and things like that. It's just so much that's there. Yeah.
And when it comes to the wars, when it comes to war and logistics, a lot of people think that war is just about shooting bombs, but a lot of times there is a strategic point where one side is trying to interrupt the logistics from the opponent, right? So destroying roads, destroying their energy or power supplies, destroying their airports to stop the opponent from doing something.
Yeah, it's going on in Sudan as we speak.
Yeah,
the two sides are going at it. The two generals are going at it and doing things like that. But in so doing, destroying the society that they try to build. It happens, and that's a huge piece. Logistics, without logistics, there's really everything comes to a halt anyway. So everybody tries to target that. Airports. Even going to the seaports and trying to sabotage things, and there's just so much. Without supplies, you have nothing. If the soldiers have no food and water, they do nothing. There's really no way they can survive. They have no ammo for all the weapons and equipment that they have, or supplies or diesel. It's all logistics based. And these days, the world is so aware that in order for you to make that impact, if you hit logistics, then you're doing really well. So that's a big piece,
For sure.
Kevwe, have you ever jumped out of an airplane parachute?
No, I have not.
No? I always like to ask that, especially...
I have trained for it, but no, I have not,
Well, the reason I ask that, too, I've always, you watch movies and things like that and even try to mentally, picture war. I've always thought, you see movies, jumping out of the helicopter parachute, dropping into a country, a war area that you've never been. I mean, you don't know, you haven't been there.
Yeah.
And here you are jumping out, coming in on the parachute. And I just was wondering, like, maybe what that experience was gonna,
it's like everything else in the Army. It's like anything you do. You train and train and train, and you have confidence in what you're going to do. War's dangerous. It's crazy. Nobody wants it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
I just plain have a huge. I just don't like it. It's messy. It's crazy. It's too painful.
Yeah.
But what do soldiers do? When you sign up and say this is what you want to do, you actually believe that's what you want to do. When you look at the politics side of it, sometimes it's funky. I think sometimes there's a huge disregard. Some of them have never served, so don't understand. But training gives you calm and gives you confidence that if you do, there's a saying, train as you would in battle, right? So the training is going to be as realistic as possible. And when you're out there, you are, I won't say comfortable, but you feel you have the best chance of being successful at a mission based on training. So it gives you a sense of confidence when you're out there doing things.
Yeah, a lot like athletics, right? I mean, if you
just
the
like
more
that.
you put in, the more you prepare for this game. I have a son who plays sports. I mean, I tell him, anytime you practice, you got to practice as if this is the game. A lot of kids, they want to when they practice, they're taking it easy, giving maybe 40-60%, and it's like, that's doing you no good.
No, not at all.
You have to come out here and show up as if, because how you practice is how you will play.
Exactly.
And so very much when you talk about military, now we're talking life, death.
You should be more on point.
Right.
When it comes to that. When it comes to
look
training.
at your team. If we're sitting here training, to go to war, and Victor's over here messing around, we're gonna. I don't know about him. We'd have to talk.
Really, I think Victor knows battle. Victor, we've been to battle together. What I mean? And we actually use exactly what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
When it comes to the teams, guys, it's civil war out there. That's what I say. That's what I tell them.
Yeah.
I go, it's a civil war. The referee is the one, but it is civil war. We're gonna go there and we'll go toe to toe. So the guys do know that there's a semblance of training as you would in the game. And that's so important. So going back to your initial questions about jumping off an airplane or jumping off a helicopter, it's all trained.
Right.
The most I've done in that regard is rappelling. Which is a little bit different,
right.
but
I've been scared to do that. Have you ever done that?
Repelling?
Yeah.
What is? Oh, repel. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't. It takes the trust to start going down, right?
Yes, it does. It just takes, like everything else, it's training. Eventually everything gets a little bit easier. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I did remember the name of the workers during COVID. Essential workers. Yeah, I thought of it. It dawned on me. Essential.
Yeah.
There was the essential
All
worker.
of a sudden, we begin to realize that logistics and without them, there's absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
The doctors can't work.
Right.
The nurses can't do it. You can't put out the information that you want to put out. So there's just so much. You talked about the water and everything, and here you are trying to sip on some. But without these guys, you can't. You just can't do it. And sometimes, like you said, I think COVID brought a renewed awareness. As to how important those things are. And also, I think it also has prepared us. Excuse me.
You're good.
It also has.
I love when someone has a good ringtone, man. That's good.
It also has it also has prepared us as a nation to rethink things.
Yeah.
You know, we've relied on China so much that all of a sudden we are finding out that, well, we got to do better than that. We can come to a halt just because China is, you know, it's like being hostage. You know, and of course things have to change. Your supply chain and where you get your supplies from. If you're getting them from one source all the time, maybe you need to start rethinking to see how that's going to go. It shouldn't just have to be China all the time, you know.
Right.
And otherwise you're going to be hostage there.
So, Kevwe, how old were you when you left Nigeria and came here? You mentioned you had some college, right? So you were probably, I'm guessing, in the 20s or late 18s.
I was in the 20s. I think I'm 58 now.
And you're 1987.
Yeah. So 23, 22.
Okay. And is English spoke pretty freely in Nigeria?
Yeah.
Or?
Nigeria was colonized by the British.
Oh, okay.
So everybody speaks English. We have over 250 languages in Nigeria.
Right.
So
but everyone, for the most part, will speak English.
Everyone speaks English. They pretty much speak English. I'll say almost if the president had to speak today, he's got to speak English.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't understand the language, his language, where he's from in Nigeria.
Yeah.
You know, so English is the great unifier for us.
Good. What is Nigeria like? I have no clue.
It's a great country. It's a great country, but like a lot of country in the developing and third world have their struggles. Nigeria happens to be one of those. Nigeria is also has huge potential. And the situation is sad the way I see it. I think if there were ever a time where a resounding nation arises from Africa, I think Nigeria would possibly had that opportunity. I think it also has squandered that opportunity. And so the people struggle. The people are very resilient, though. Very, very resilient. They're very sharp. They're very smart. They're hardworking. They're very brilliant. I'll say even when you look at the United States right now, I think the highest number of or the group with the highest population of higher education in the United States are Nigerians. Yes.
Good.
And they lead that way in almost every country.
Really?
Yeah. Education is important to them. However, the leaders continue to fail them. And so, what do? You
what
go
would
to
be
the US to be a doctor, lawyer, or do other things that you can do and really be what you possibly can be.
So in Nigeria, though, what would be some common or one of like more profession or jobs? What are people doing there?
It's tough. It's a highly, highly populated country.
Right.
It's one of the wealthiest one, right, in Africa?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I think it is. It's a lot of farming. People do transportation, even with motorcycles. There's a lot that to do. But, it can be much better than it is right now. I mean, you have everything that, jobs that you have here and jobs that you don't have here. Just because certain aspects and segments are so poor and they have to do those things to keep going. And they work hard. They are just hardworking people. Yeah.
When's the last time you went back?
Last year.
Oh, you do? That's something you do pretty regularly?
I've been doing better.
Yeah.
I will be going back this year.
Family there, I assume?
I got family there. Love to travel, so Nigeria is one of the spots that I travel to. Trying to do better going every year.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
What is Nigeria, without having a map in front of me, is it more in the middle of Africa or is it on, I want to say...
the west.
On the west coast, kind of,
yes.
right? Gotcha.
Yeah.
Coach, what was your first job here in the U.S. after you graduated?
Oh, man.
That's a good question. I like that. What was it?
Taco Bell.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, Taco Bell was my first spot. And no, I had, and back then, here out of school, trying to find what to do, thinking about going to Carl Sandburg College, but wasn't there yet. Needed to occupy my time and got a job at Taco Bell.
What was your first job, Victor?
Yeah.
My first job in the U.S.
Yeah.
was a cleaning job.
Like for a house or businesses?
Business.
Okay.
Business cleaning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the janitor.
Yeah, janitor.
Have you ever seen the movie? Dang it! Now I'm going to the Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
Have you seen Good Will
Yes,
Hunting?
I have.
I know. I figure you have.
Yes.
Have you? So the janitor, he doesn't go to school.
Yeah.
He's the janitor though. But they would leave this math problem up on the chalkboard that no one could ever solve. And they come in one day, it's solved. So they're trying to figure out who solved it. We need to know. There's someone here who's very smart.
Janitor.
It was a janitor.
Yeah, that's
So I was
cool.
wondering, did you do that? Did you solve it?
What was your first job?
My very first job was at a grocery store, like stocking shelves, sacking
Yeah.
groceries. And then I actually got a job at Arby's, the Arby's roast beef.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, that was my first two jobs when I was in high school.
And how did you keep going, keep growing career-wise? How did you get the first job on, like in the prison, for example?
Oh, man.
Are you working at the
about
prison?
Yeah, talk about the prisons.
What, in Galesburg at Henry Hill?
That too.
A
Yeah.
lot of them.
Yes, oh, yeah.
Well, you had some background, law enforcement,
Yeah.
security.
I was in the military already.
Yeah, military.
I was always very, kind of,
Physical.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was. And the military came well for me at that time in the sense that I also needed my school fees to be paid. And signing up was easy for me to do. So they could help me pay some of my tuition. Not some, they paid all of my tuition.
Right.
And I did that. And while I was doing that, I think it all goes back to my wife, who's from Galesburg. Actually, yeah, it goes back to my wife. So I had a young family while I was in school, even just when I started at Carl Sandburg College, and had to be around in Galesburg. So I'm like, what do I do? Then the prison was one, and I applied. So I was hired. Well, I was hired first, then I had to go to Desert Shield. So, so I didn't start till after I came back, and I worked there pretty much. I've done all sorts of jobs in the prison system, from being I was hired in as a correctional officer, and I did that for a few years, and also worked as a counselor. Did that. I also worked as a leisure time activities specialist, it's called. Pretty much you make life easy for the offenders that are locked up in the system by providing recreation.
Right.
So I did that as well. Then I went back on the security side then I became a major. I was transferred from Galesburg to Decatur, Illinois. It's a women's facility. I was a major there, and that was a tough period in my life because I had to get an apartment there, and came home on weekends.
Yeah.
To see the family.
And you had young kids.
Yeah, I had young kids, and that was kind of tough, But I did that for years. I actually did that for about five years at least, and then ended up coming back to Galesburg, but instead got a lateral move closer to home at East Moreland Correctional Center. So I was driving every day from
Sure.
home. Kind of made it easier. And I did that for some time. Then I did another lateral to Galesburg. So now I'm back at home, with the family, and did that for a few years. And then moved on to head the clinical services department. And did that for some time. Then all through that time I was looked at as somebody who should be running the prison. But I wasn't one to rush either, because I really wanted to. I was more like, I love being a student of something. I want to be the expert. And I think I was a student of corrections, so I knew it in and out. It's a place that I'm comfortable in. And one reason why in that environment where people seem to frown all the time, and I feel sorry all the time when I see employees frowning, they come in just like the world's coming to an end sometimes, but for me it was different. It was a mindset.
Yeah.
I went in there with a smile, I went home with a smile, and I did that all through. I was a warden at Hill as well, I've worked at various facilities, East Moreland, like I said, lots of facilities.
The
Kiwani.
female correctional centers that's a whole other ball game, huh?
It's a whole other ball game, and it's all a mindset. It's a whole other ball game. Even the juvenile, that's totally different.
Oh, yeah.
Too. But for me, I was privileged to have worked in all of them, and it's a mindset, it's exposure, it's understanding, it's knowledge, and knowing the differences.
It takes some people skills too. I mean, you're dealing with all different types of people.
Yes.
Just because they're all have made a mistake or a criminal at some point, right? I mean, there's still people of all different walks of life.
There's still people.
Family, there's still people, right? Yeah. I toured. I took a class I got my minor in sociology, and we spent a summer touring correctional centers in Illinois. Yeah. So I got to tour quite a few of them.
Very good.
I loved it. It was a great experience. They would tell you you're the entertainment for the day. So these people, they don't get to see people very often. So today, they're going to ham it up for you. Yes. And they do, man. They start saying stuff and yelling everything. And, it was a really good experience. I'm glad I got to do that.
It's good exposure.
And I enjoy prison shows like The Lockup or Locked Up Abroad. That's a crazy one.
That's a crazy one. I watch that sometimes.
Yeah. It makes me not want to travel, man.
No, it makes you not want to travel. You look at those, you're like, oh, man. Lock me up in the U.S.
Yeah, right. Don't put me over there.
Don't put me over there.
Yeah. No, that's true.
I watch those too.
Yeah. So have you ever had or any experience in the prisons in Nigeria?
No, not really.
What is that like? Do you know?
I've had family members who have worked in the system.
Okay.
It's nothing. It's not even comparable in any sense.
They don't get internet. I can't believe our prisons, man.
You're talking about 100 people in a small room.
It's totally. It's not. And once again, Nigeria can be better than that.
Yeah,
they
for
can
sure.
Be better than that. But it also goes back to leadership and the politics within.
Corruption.
Corruption is high.
Yeah.
It's very high, and.
I've watched a prison documentary, and there's appears to be some corruption even in that high level of the prison systems. At some point, there's someone whose job is to make sure this place is full.
Yeah.
Right.
I hear those are very debatable. In terms of how society sees things. Sometimes you see laws being created somehow. That are very, very punitive, not giving chances. Of course, the prisons are going to be full.
Right.
Now, is it because of what you're saying? Do they have, do some of these guys have hands in the suppliers who supply them water on the inside? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a need. But, I, for one, I want to see that we are just as a society. Unfortunately, society is not as just as I want to see it. You know, so some of those things might be true, but as a professional in the system, I don't look at that piece. My perspective is to make sure it is a better place for staff and a better place for the offenders that are inside. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I want, because at the end of the day, one thing I always used to say, walking around and talking to staff is, you know, we spend more time here with these offenders than we do with our families at home. You know, when you begin to look at that very deeply, how do you want this new home that you find yourself, that you're probably going to do 10 years in, 20 years in, 30 years in, you know, what kind of home do you want it? Is it, do you want it to always be adversarial? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we don't. You know, you have to look from the perspective that the judge has already sentenced this individual. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
There's a high probability he's not going to escape for the next 60 years. You know, so just make sure it gets his food, make sure it takes his shower, make sure it goes to rec. He's not asking for much. Just do that piece. You know, there's I mean, you know, you have the power of it's like a community in there, you know, and the correctional officers are like police officers on the outside. So when they do stuff wrong, we have recourse. You know, I mean, you know, you can write them tickets. You have various punishments for things that are in there. So it's functional. You know, the bottom line is you just want to be as professional as possible in that environment. Then it is much easier to enjoy your time at work. You know, without carrying excess baggage and stress. And a lot of times I see sometimes some individuals taking that same stress home, you know, that really shouldn't be. It is a stressful environment, there's no doubt. You're dealing with all kinds of people and it is pretty nasty. But the best way to do it is being professional. And when you are professional, they respect you. And your days are that way. At the end of the day, you run the place. They don't run the place.
Yeah.
You know, you run the place and you have to do everything possible to make sure your employees are very well trained and that you do care for your employees. But you also have to have an understanding that you have to care for those who are detained as well.
Yeah.
Because society has said, hey, you're in charge, you know, at the end, you know, you're in charge, you have to make sure it's right. You said there are all kinds of people. They're family members who just maybe made the wrong turn, you know, they're not necessarily criminals, but they will pay for a price. They will pay a price. I once was in a women's facility and I saw this girl. She looked like she was 16. And I go, what are you doing here? You know, and she was one that was at college, went out late, drank, and ran somebody over. And now she's going to do 16 years in prison.
Right.
You know what I mean? So these things do happen, and there's a lot of that. You know, so at the end of the day, it's just you know, just be professional and just do your bit.
As a parent, you're a parent.
Yeah.
You are now, but you're very young with the lesson one here, right?
Julian boy.
Yeah.
Julian boy.
One thing I find myself, because as a kid, I was absolutely crazy. I mean, I didn't think of consequences until after the action, right? I actually had to go to court-ordered good decision workshops.
Yeah.
They would teach you to think before you act, because as a kid, I was pretty reckless and would just, I mean, I sprayed a fire extinguisher at the school just because I thought it would be funny and I was bored. But
That's okay.
yeah, but so dumb stuff, right?
Yes.
But what I talk about, and that young lady you just talked about, stuff that I did, and I try to make sure my kids know, hey, things can be going real smooth, right? And just like that, one dumb thing, and oh boy, has your day, your week, or maybe even your life changed completely.
Like how many people in prison maybe got involved in a fight at a bar, punched someone, the guy fell with the face on the floor,
Hits his head, died, anything.
And
It happens.
Yeah.
I've seen them all. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you look at those files and they tell tales of lives, and a lot of them just went in a flash, just like that.
Right.
You know, it's easy texting, driving, someone runs the road. Or you texting, driving, it looks like the road is good, but somebody who was walking on the side just steps on a rock and falls in front of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it might look like the road is safe, but Is it really safe? So anything happens, and America is one country that locks up its people the most.
Yeah,
by far.
Has
By
the
far,
highest
yeah.
jail population in the
By
world.
far,
Right.
by
Yeah.
far, yeah. And because we are a country that likes freedom, and we will do everything as a society, governmentally, to protect that freedom. And we do. In so doing, the prisons are also full. But should it really be that full? That's a different
Right.
debate. That's a different debate. Are the laws rational enough and gives people? Because at the end of the day, I think, in my own thinking, it doesn't have to be that full.
No.
We are not that bad a people. And how society, by the way, how's outside of Monmouth? Is it being ignored? How's east side of Monmouth? Is it being ignored? And are we putting the resources that are necessary to make our kids excel?
Right.
You know what I mean? You use yourself as an example how you're kind of like a clown back in the day, just joking around, because sometimes that can go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it
If you
did.
happen to be,
It did many times.
You know what I mean?
For
You know what I
me.
mean? Now, sometimes here you are, doing real good in life, and some people didn't come back from that. They
Right.
might have been in a bad neighborhood. They might be in a neighborhood that was ignored by society or community, where the judges this is just what we do. We just don't give them a break, and let's just, and those things can go wrong. Then you come out, you're in and out, from juvenile detention, and then you graduate from there into adult, and life just goes on. So there's a whole lot of that happening. I think as a society, we can do much better than that.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. I love people. It's life. I've been in public service my life. I come from that background as well. I was almost late for this because I was, talking to somebody who needed to be, a
Right.
young man. But it is. Sometimes we just got to be selfless as a people, more selfless. We're not saying we should not have rules. We're not saying we should not have prisons. But I think it should be done in such a way where it benefits society, and because we have so many also potential there's so many people who should be working
Yeah.
and have so much potential, value that potentially value adding to society, but are not doing it and not paying taxes, and because they're locked up, So, it could have been somebody like you, just with a brilliant person, just out there in the prison that could have, I don't know, but it's, we have to have prisons. We have to
Right.
have people locked up, but we just, as a society, a lot of things can be improved. Yeah.
Well, I think in our society, it's becoming more and more normal
Yeah.
to kick somebody when they're down. The minute they mess up, I mean, you see social media.
Yes.
With social media, made it easier.
In
for
a
people to do
restaurant,
that.
you get in a restaurant, they bring me the wrong food, or there's a hair in it, or you
Then you
see a
post.
cockroach.
Yeah.
The average move is to take a picture and say, "Oh my God, do not ever go to Victor's restaurant. It is nasty, like this hair."
Yes.
But you didn't even tell Victor about it.
And the amount of people that shares there.
Yeah. And
goes viral,
but
yeah.
look, you could have the best food for 50 years.
Yeah.
Have the best service, one thing like that. And it just, that's how it even us as people, you could literally be the best teacher, the best father, the best whatever. And man, one mishap and everyone is ready to label you as a failure or a criminal or a whatever,
Even, if you were at, say, a TV show, a radio show, and there's an interview going on, and somebody says something, but that person also spent 1 hour in that conversation.
Yeah.
Take out of context.
Yes, out
Yes.
of context. Now that becomes the social media buzz,
Right.
and not just it goes out. It's worldwide.
Yeah.
Everybody gets that, and with social media and the abilities of of science and technology and being able to tweak things on your computer. Splice here, splice there. They can make even a good pure thing look bad.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
That happens a lot in the politics.
Well, now we have the AI you have to worry about. They can, they can now take your voice and have you say anything.
Yes.
So now what is real anymore?
We see it. People, in interviews, the voices there, it looks like you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And how do you defend that?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I know we got a crazy world ahead of us, that's for sure.
I don't know where it's going, but hopefully we'll get it fixed for
it. Yeah, just buckle up. It's going to be a ride.
Yeah, buckle up.
Coach, talk to us a little bit about soccer, about how coaching started.
Oh man,
in your life.
How did coaching start? I've always been involved in sports, right, since I was little. And I went to a boarding school as well. So sports was very, very important. Even before that, I was playing. Played soccer for me. It was so easy for me at that point. I always wanted something more challenging. And as I got into high school, I leaned more towards tennis because it was new. I was fortunate enough before high school, the town that I lived in, I used to go watch the mayor and his friends play tennis. And I became a ball boy, and I was, and they gave me, after a while, they gave me a racket.
That's awesome.
So, and I remember going to my school, primary school, went to the headmaster one time. I was like, we got to have a tennis team here. We don't have a tennis team. And he laughed. He goes, remind me. He told me exactly what was months down, and he was kind of shocked when I showed up in his door to remind him.
Right.
But I've always been involved in sports, and also at high school, I was really. My dad was the principal of the school actually at that time, so I used to go for preseason. It would be about 5 a.m. They were training, and I would leave home as a young 9-year-old and walk into the school and just watch these amazing soccer players, and just watch them. It was very motivating as well. But I stayed playing. Coming to the States, I was played recreationally a lot, played for club, and but between the army and school and family, for me it was more focused on school. So I really didn't do much with soccer besides the fact that I started coaching young kids at the YMCA and doing what I could to be involved in the Galesburg community, and which I still do. Right now I'm coaching the Galesburg and Monmouth High School kids because this is their off season. They play in the fall. So I have a bunch of Monmouth kids and Galesburg High School kids, and I have them every year, this time every year. It's a volunteer thing. I'm a volunteer head coach for the U16s and U18s, and I do that every year. So I've done that for a long time. And I've also coached and been affiliated with coaching at Knox College for almost 30 years. I've coached there as a volunteer. I've coached the women as an assistant and as a head coach. I've coached the men before, now coaching the men again, and currently an interim coach for the women. So I've always done it. I know after I retired from corrections, I started working at Carl Sambo College as an adjunct professor. And while I was there, the coach resigned, and it was I think they had a few games left. So it was a talented team though, and they just, I don't know what happened, but the coach resigned, and he was playing for the team actually.
Yes.
That's probably why he quit.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Victor was the main goal scorer for the team, But so and they were contemplating possibly what they were going to do. Not sure what they were going to do, and possibly shutting down the program was also something that was being and I think the team brought it up with the school and said, Coach is teaching here. Why don't coach just coach us?
Yeah.
We asked the school to bring Kevwe.
Yeah.
Kevwe used to go to all of our practices.
It
Just
worked.
watch us practice. And he would give us like advice. Like he would help us for nothing, just for
Right.
wanting to help.
Yeah.
And he used to go to every practice, and we got close to him. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and then the other coach left, and we were like, Kevwe, bring
Yeah.
him.
This guy's already here.
Yes, he's there every practice.
Yeah. So why not?
And
Yeah.
then he came to Sandbrook. He went to
Yes,
Sandbrook.
No, that's
and
good.
they had this big meeting.
Yeah.
And they brought me in, you know, to school, and it was also a turnaround for the team, you know.
Yeah, he was.
I remember we trained for 1 week, and were very successful after that. And so of course I decided to stay. They asked if I would stay. I said, of course I'll stay, you know. And one, I won't be in Galesburg and have a program shut down when I'm available for one.
Yeah.
Two, it's something that I love to do anyway. So I said, well, what I'm going to do is not just keep the program, but also show to the school that it can be a program that's respected.
And you guys just had one of the best years last year,
yes,
maybe,
yes,
right?
yes.
Or a year or
2
two.
years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had, you know, Victor had just graduated, and I told Victor, don't go anywhere. I need an assistant. You know, and so Victor, thank God, he stayed with me.
Good.
While he was driving back and forth to WIU to finish his bachelor's degree. So he stayed with me and always coached with me, and it was nice. And every year, you know, and we just set our targets and exceeded it in terms of respect in the conference, respect in the region, and also respect in the nation.
Yep.
And we became nationally ranked for weeks and weeks and weeks, you know.
We
so
got to
many
be
times.
the 7th, top 7 in the nation at some point.
For a community college?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We went to the nationals and everything.
Yes. We
That's
did.
good.
We did. You know, then I was, you know, I've been struggling with pains the last few years, especially with my neck, you know.
Yeah.
It's laughing. and struggling with pains, and just have a lot of, you know, just injuries from the military through time, you know. And I was telling the school, I was like, you know, I don't think I'm going to keep doing this. I think it's getting to the point where I have to stop, you know. And I told them that after that season, it was going to be my last, and that I was going to finish. So we went to nationals, came back, and I stepped down. You know, I'd already sent my letter of resignation early, you know. So I stepped down, and Victor stepped up as the head coach.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, I had surgery that same a month later. You know, I spent Christmas in hospital, I think, and my neck, and I was having problems. What happened? What really did me in was Victor called me one day. Said, "Hey, coach, we're playing in Monmouth. We need some subs. We need help." I go, "Okay." I go, I'll be a sub to the sub. You know, so I show up there, and guess what? I was the only sub.
He got no one else?
No, I wasn't even.
played the whole
There was
game.
no sub. They had no sub.
There was no sub.
They had no
You
sub.
are
So
the
I
sub.
had to
Yeah.
play. I had to play.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was the most physical game ever. I was already in pain before I got there. My neck was hurt, and that did me in. And I think a week after that, I ended up in hospital.
Yeah. I remember that.
And the doctor says, we have to do surgery to your neck. They could not go through the front because it was so low. So they went through the back, you know. But I'll tell you one thing, that was the best thing ever that happened to me, because I feel great, you know.
Right.
By January, I was feeling really good. And fortunately for me, last year, I was beginning to think, you know, stopping coaching was just because of these pains, you know. What am I going to do now? I feel so good. Then I heard that Knox College was in need of an assistant coach. And I was like, what better job to have? An assistant coach, not being the head.
Right.
I was like, this is good, you know. So I applied to be an assistant coach. I was just in heaven. And they hired me, of course. And I was an assistant last spring. And a few weeks to preseason, head coach leaves for Virginia, picks up a job in Virginia. So I had to be head coach one more time, and I'm still head coach now at Knox College, you know, going to my second season now,
Did you know I am very good at soccer?
Yeah.
I can dribble and pass. No, I'm kidding. I've never played, not one
Victor's
time.
like in your dreams.
No, not good at all. I would try to kick it with my toe. And I can play kickball really good though.
With your toe.
Yeah.
Kickball?
You don't ever play kickball?
What's the kickball?
It's the same as baseball, but the pitcher rolls a ball and you kick it and then you run around the bases.
Yes.
You've never played
seen
that?
one.
Oh my god!
I always said I would be good at baseball if I could kick the ball.
It's called kickball. Honestly, it's the same as baseball.
Yeah?
You can throw the ball at the person.
And I
though.
just kick it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if we get it and we throw and hit you with the ball, you're out.
Okay.
Right? When baseball, you can't throw the ball at them.
Okay.
You have to catch with the ball and be at the base.
I like that.
But kickball, man.
It's fun,
Yeah.
That's at every grade school, or at least it used to be. I don't know.
Almost, you know, here in the U.S., I think kickball is like almost everybody plays kickball at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
See, now you learned something new today.
Yeah. But yeah, after coach became the head coach at Knox, and then he called me. He wanted me to go to Knox.
Yeah, because he wants to be back to assistant.
I know.
For me to be his assistant.
I know, but someday you saw how excited he was when he said he could be the assistant.
What did I tell you? When he became head coach, I was feeling better, right? And he goes, "Hey, coach, I'm going to need an assistant."
I wanted him to be my assistant. Yeah.
That's funny.
You know, but at that time, though, I was already at Knox.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
And I otherwise, I certainly would have been, if I wasn't doing anything, I would have been Victor's assistant in a minute.
For sure.
Just because. But, you know, for me, it's working out really well because, you know, I'm retired anyway. Retired from the military, retired from the state of Illinois. So all I have is time, and I enjoy it. I enjoy being around the sport. I enjoy the students. I enjoy the young minds. I enjoy the talents, you know, and so being around that, for me, it's like heaven anyway. So it's something I enjoy doing, certainly.
Good.
So I'll do it every day.
Good. Well, Kevwe, I greatly I enjoyed having you come in and jump on the Talk About It podcast with us. I met you briefly at some community events, but to get to learn a whole lot more about you and sit down with you, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Same here. It's nice to be able to chat and see that you almost got yourself in the joint a couple of times.
Almost, man. Almost. If it weren't
Well, you're
for
still here.
If it weren't for that good decision workshop, I might have ended up there, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know? So, but no, I appreciate it. Thank you so much,
course.
Kevwe.
Thank you for coming, Coach.
Yeah, thank you,
Nice.
Victor.
Victor, thank you.
Kevwe, Knox College soccer head coach, and so much more than that. But I appreciate you coming. Talk About It podcast. We greatly appreciate you guys listening.
Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you know when the next video is coming up. And
You just got to go like this.
yeah.
It's that easy
Yeah, it's free.
and free.
Yeah. See
All
you
right.
guys next week.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Talk About It podcast.
I'm Victor Dantes.
I'm Lauren Fulmer.
And we would encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell. It's going to be right below the video. So you
Hit
guys,
the bell.
so you know when the next episode is up. All
We
right?
appreciate all the support.
Thank you.